Hello and welcome to News Now. A Nigerian Federal Appeal Court, I should say, in Abuja, has told the country's President of the Senate, Senator Bukola Saraki, that he must stand trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal for alleged false declaration of his assets. This is after the court threw out a suit filed by the Senate President challenging the jurisdiction of the tribunal to try him for corruption. The court dismissed all 5 issues raised by the Senate President before it. Saraki, who is facing 13 counts of false asset declaration when he was governor of Kwara State, appealed to the court to stop his arrest by the police and stay proceedings before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. He pled not guilty to all 13 charges leveled against him by the Code of Conduct Bureau, describing them as false and frivolous, and that the charges were calculated to rubbish him. The tribunal also adjourned Saraki's trial till November 5th and 6th.
By the decision of the court itself, you can see there was a descending judgment delivered by one of the justices. We intend to test the veracity of this judgment. We want to ventilate and exhaust our right of appeal. We'll be testing it in the Supreme Court, inshallah, and so shall we be there.
The defendant, the person charged, has not been given proper advice. Because how will you say that in the absence of Attorney General, no other person can find a charge, thereby paralyzing that judgment if that advice is upheld by them, which means the Ministry of Justice all over the Federation will not be able to file any single charge until the cabinet is constituted. So, which means all the Anti-Corruption Commission will be paralyzed. So, we told them from day one that you are misadvising him. So, and that is the position, and we have vindicated today that their position is not right. And how can you say that the tribunal can order someone to be arrested, who can declare one guilty, is a civil court, it's not a criminal court. So these are kind of advices that have been given, and you see a lot of people giving opinion, even on television, on radio, without looking at the law, and we have been vindicated.
Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has been explaining why the federal government is strongly opposed to the idea of devaluing the naira. Speaking at a meeting with the Italian ambassador to Nigeria, Fulvio Rostico, and the Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Perry John Calderwood, in Abuja, Osinbajo said the devaluation of the naira was not an appropriate option in the current economic realities in the country, saying that it offers no solution as far as the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari was concerned. There have been pressure from both within and outside Nigeria for the government to allow market forces to determine the value of the naira, but the government has strongly resisted the call and imposed strict controls in the country's forex markets. 5 Deputy Controller Generals have voluntarily retired from the Nigeria Customs Service as part of an ongoing reorganization of the service. Their resignations was confirmed in a statement signed by the spokesperson of the service, Wale Adeni, which acknowledged the acceptance of the resignations alongside 29 other senior officials who were also retired from the service. The reorganization of the service is one of the core mandates of the Controller General of Customs, Colonel Ahmed Ali, retired. The Nigerian government has agreed to an out-of-court settlement in a case alleging a breach of fundamental human rights and negligence to clear landmines and abandoned explosives from the 1967 to 1970 Civil War sites. The case was filed against the federal government and 5 others by Vincent Agu and 19 others. The plaintiffs are claiming 100 billion naira compensatory and general damages from the federal government. At the resumed hearing of the case, counsel to the applicant Alex Williams told the court that the parties had amicably resolved the dispute but was yet to file the terms of settlement before the court. Williams said the filing of the terms of settlement was delayed because the federal government was yet to appoint an Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice who would assent to the terms agreed to by the parties. The counsel therefore asked for an adjournment of the case pending the appointment of the minister. As the date for the Kogi governorship elections approaches, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has confirmed that 1.3 million people are eligible to vote in the election. This was disclosed by the resident electoral commissioner in the state, Hussaini Halilu, at the INEC headquarters in Lokoja. He said that the reason he disclosed the figures was to enlighten the major stakeholders of the current amount of people eligible to participate in the election. The governorship election in Kogi State will take place November the 21st. Incumbent Governor Idris Wada of the People's Democratic Party and Audu Abubakar of the All Progressives Congress are the candidates considered to be front-runners. The opposition People's Democratic Party on Friday accused the President Muhammadu Buhari-led government of interfering with the activities of the Judiciary Legislature and the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) using the Directorate of State Services. The PDP made the allegation in a communique made available at the end of its meeting of National Caucus, which held at the Ondo State Governor's Lodge in Asokoro district of Abuja on Thursday. The communique, which was signed by the National Secretary of the party, Wale Oladipo, stated, quote, "There was serious cause for concern in the nation's political environment, especially as it concerns the survival of the nation's democracy," end of quote. PDP also accused the APC government of insensitivity to critical issues raised by the opposition party. The party said it has resolved to vigorously resist the APC's interference. Now, a young Nigerian doctor, Freeman Oshonuga, could be the first black African to go to space if he wins a competition sponsored by London-based talent agency Kruger-Cowan in partnership with Young World and X-Core Space Expeditions. Called the Rising Star Program, the competition aims to find one inspiring young individual who will become the voice of the next generation, and the winner, of course, will be propelled onto the world stage and into space. Freeman could be that individual, as he is one of the 3 finalists heading to the final later this next month in Thailand. The young Nigerian medical doctor who could make history by becoming the first black African in space. Freeman Oshonuga carries not just the hope of over 160 million Nigerians, but that of the entire African continent in the Rising Star contest.
It makes me feel good, and it's a rare opportunity, so I'm very privileged and honored to be at this critical time in history to be doing this. Because, and this is important because of the millions of people that I represent. I came from a very humble background. So if a young person like me from Africa with a very humble background can be at this point in history with a tendency, with an opportunity to make history for the entire black continent and for the world, it gives me a sense of joy, but also a huge sense of responsibility.
In a matter of weeks from now, Freeman would find out if his quest to make history will be a success. He and 2 other finalists will take the stage before 1,300 Young World delegates and a panel of judges in Bangkok, Thailand, where he would be required to give a 5-minute presentation on climate change. If he convinced the star panel and got chosen as winner, then his journey to space would have effectively begun.
I'm preparing, and until I get on the stage, I'll keep preparing for it. I intend to talk about climate change, and you can't talk about climate change in 5 minutes. You know, you can't. There's nothing you want to say in 5 minutes, but I intend to make the best use of it. And why is climate change important? It's important because it affects the rich and the poor, but the effect is worse on the poor. And we need to do something drastic about it.
Apart from being a medical doctor, Freeman is also a humanitarian. His Heal the World Foundation has carried out charity works in several local communities in his Ogun State in southwest Nigeria. And just recently, he was in Sierra Leone fighting the deadly Ebola virus disease as part of the African Union's Ebola response team to that country, spending 6 months there. So, after dropping his Ebola suit, he is now looking to putting on a space suit. But he's quick to point out his quest is not just about the adventure.
I applied because it will give me that rare opportunity to do what I've always loved to do, which is to alleviate poverty, to eradicate human sufferings in millions of lives now. I got a lot of support from Nigeria and from beyond, but it was not easy. It was really tough, but I'm really grateful that I was able to get the support I was able to get, because people believed in the vision that we are doing this for the continent, we are doing this to make history together.
And one person who believes so much in his vision and remains optimistic he would emerge the rising star is his longtime friend Tunde, who was also part of the AU team that fought Ebola in Sierra Leone.
When he came up with the idea of space thing, I wasn't surprised at all. I wasn't surprised at all. And I told him, I said, they will pick you. You don't need to bother yourself. So I have this 100% conviction that it's going to be the person that they're going to pick. I have that conviction. And I know him, he's a very intelligent person. He was going to put everything in place.
Freeman has a date with destiny in November. The entire continent is waiting with bated breath, hoping that this son of a deceased driver and petty trader from a corner of southwest Nigeria will become the first black African to go to space. Well, we can only wish Freeman Oshonuga all the best of luck when he makes that presentation in Bangkok, Thailand, sometime in November. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, we have more stories.
Hello, you're welcome. You're watching the Funny White Man Show, which is the biggest, the brightest, and the most entertaining show in Africa.
Funny white man, funny white man, funny white man, but this way you talk, it's too much. Give me 5,000 man, that's you. It's too much. So you get it like, Messi move along the street. Ah, yeah, Messi like there, I'm going girl. You know, my own people. Ah, actually, yeah, fine, it's fun. I enjoy it, and I'm one of those very few. I'm forever taking it personal. I will listen 160 million Nigerians are corrupt. How? I thought I'm looking for you.
Yeah, but it's a growth, and this is the time to build business. I know the pitfalls, I know what to do and what not to do. But there are months where you get business and months.
You know how we do, how we train them. We did the way you did.
Hello, you're welcome. You're watching Trending Matters on the Funny White Man Show. Of course, they will bring you trending issues just to entertain and tickle your fancy.
Welcome back. Now, with less than 1 day to the deadline for bank verification number BVN, about 26 million account holders still haven't registered to protect their money. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has said no extension will be granted after the deadline expires, and customers who still haven't registered will have no access to their money or any transaction in their account. According to the CBN, the registration window will still be open after tomorrow, but unregistered customers will not be granted access to their accounts. The bank verification number is a central bank initiative which was launched in February 2014, and it's been supported by the Bankers Committee. The Apex Bank urged bank customers to ensure they meet up with the October 31st deadline set for the conclusion of the bank verification number exercise. Nigeria's central bank weekend exchange rate actually pegged its exchange rate now to 197 naira to the dollar on the interbank market on Friday, down from 196 naira 97 kobo on Monday. Traders said the regulator set the new rate for market closing price on Thursday, making this the 11th adjustment since the bank introduced tight currency controls in February. The central bank has resorted to adjusting the rate on the local currency since pegging it to the dollar in February and abolishing two-way naira quotes to help conserve forex reserves. Traders said the present method of exchange rate fixing has led to an erosion of the country's forex reserves, which stood at $30.13 billion as of October the 27th, and of course that's down from $30.8 $8.38 billion a month earlier. The central bank has resisted calls to further devalue the naira in the face of a plunge in vital oil revenues, but the bank has continued to intervene periodically to provide forex liquidity support for the local currency. It also sells dollars twice weekly to bureau the change operators as part of efforts to support the naira and narrow the gap between the official and parallel foreign exchange markets. Nigeria's federal government says it plans to review and update the National Strategic Plan framework to effectively mainstream anti-corruption and poverty reduction issues in the medium-term Successor Development Plan 2016 to 2020 and, of course, 2016 budget. Basi Akpanyong, Secretary of the National Planning Commission, said this in Abuja at a one-day national dialogue on poverty in Nigeria. He said poverty and lack of development in the country are all rooted in the endemic level of corruption in the public and private sector, resulting in insecurity and crime.
The process towards ensuring peace and stability in any nation would involve a wide range of activities, including addressing the socio-economic causes that lie at the root of terror and kidnapping, the most important of which are poverty and corruption. There is a broadly shared view that the key to winning the war against poverty and terror is pursuing the objective of sustained and inclusive growth and development. The situation in Nigeria with respect to corruption and poverty is of serious concern to the current administration, especially with the ranking of Nigeria as number 166 out of 175 countries as at 2014. The poverty incidence for the country is also hovering above 60% on a nationwide basis. This is why government intends to introduce policy measures aimed at addressing corruption and ensuring improvement in the living standards of the populace. As a first step, the federal government has embarked on the reform of the budgeting and planning process by adopting the zero-based budgeting approach and policy-driven approach for the preparation of the 2016 and the 2016 to 2020 medium-term successor strategic plan. The government is also taking steps to free up resources for investment in critical sectors of the economy, including the implementation of national social protection and safety net programs for the vulnerable groups. This is expected to be achieved through the blocking of financial leakages and also growing the size of government revenues, especially from non-oil sources.
Brent crude held close to $49 a barrel on Friday, poised to post the first weekly gain in 3 weeks, despite a supply glut that has tested storage capacity and hammered oil company results. Brent crude was trading 35 cents higher at $49.15 a barrel, while U.S. crude was trading 15 cents higher at $46.20 a barrel. Now, traders said a 3.4 million barrel crude build reported by the U.S. Energy Information Administration provided the primary support for the weekly increase. Also, China's Ministry of Commerce announced a doubling in the country's crude oil import quota for 2016. But OPEC production remained close to record highs as major producers focus on defending market share, and widespread concerns persisted over China's shaky economy growth. At least 22 migrants have drowned trying to reach Cape Kamos and Rhodes from Turkey in the second major boat tragedy of Greek islands this week. Many of those killed in the incident were children, and the Coast Guard said, that's the Coast Guard actually said on Friday. Greek officials said 19 people died and 138 were rescued near Kalimos. 3 others died of Rhodes and 3 were missing. 6 were rescued there. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras said he felt shame over the inability of Europe to deal effectively with this human drama. Speaking in Parliament, the left-wing Syriza leader condemned the level of debate at a senior level where one is passing the buck to the other in the EU. Meanwhile, rescuers in southern Spain are searching for 35 migrants missing after the boat broke up on its way from Morocco. 4 bodies have been found. The UN estimates that more than 700,000 migrants have crossed to Europe by boat so far this year, many of them refugees from war-torn Syria. The first talks bringing together all foreign powers backing rival sides in Syria's civil war have opened. Now, the meeting in Vienna will seek to close the gap between the U.S. and its allies who support the rebels and the key foreign allies of the Syrian government, Russia and Iran. It's the first time Iran has been involved in the diplomacy. Meanwhile, Syrian activists say a bombardment by government forces killed at least 40 people near Damascus. Footage uploaded to the internet, which cannot be independently verified, showed bodies strewn across the ruins of a marketplace in the rebel-held suburb of Douma. The UK-based Syrian observatory Now, the 4-year war in Syria, which began with an uprising against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, has left 250,000 people dead and forced half the country's population, or 11 million people, from their homes. Let's turn to sports now. Super Eagles coach Sunday Oliseh has included Manchester City starlet Kelechi Iheanacho in the list of players invited for next month's World Cup qualifiers against Swaziland. Oliseh initially released a list of 23 players for the 2-legged tie, but has added the 19-year-old to that list, bringing the total number to 24. Oliseh said he invited the youngster after watching his brilliant display against Crystal Palace in the Capital One Cup on Wednesday. Nigeria takes on Swaziland in a 2-legged World Cup qualifying tie next month. Head coach of the Nigerian under-23 national team, Samson Siasia, says he should not be blamed if the country fails to qualify for the 2016 Olympics in Rio, as his players have not been paid their bonuses by the NFF. The Dream Team 4 were drawn with Egypt, Mali and Algeria in Group B of the Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations. The tournament will be held from November the 28th to December 12, 2015, with the top 3 teams qualifying to represent Africa at Rio 2016. Not the kind of story we expect to hear at this time. The guys should be paid their bonuses. Well, that's it in news now. We thank you very much for watching. Continue to stay tuned to TV360.